Welcome to Shadow Psychology Coded, where we dare to explore the forbidden territories of the human mind and spirit. In this profound journey through Nietzsche's most concealed and transformative wisdom, we begin at the only true starting point for any authentic personal revolution, the systematic and unflinching dismantling of the moral prison that has kept you chained, compliant, and tragically ordinary. The rules of society, the virtues you were taught to cherish, the very fabric of good and evil that structures your perception, these were never designed for your empowerment. They were meticulously engineered over centuries to make you manageable, predictable, and utterly dependent on the validation of the herd. Your conscience, that inner voice that guides your actions, is often not your own. It is a ghost, a phantom, the internalized whisper of priests, kings, and social engineers long dead. Today, we shatter these ancient chains with the first two of Nietzsche's most forbidden rules that have been deliberately suppressed because they liberate the individual from the tyranny of the collective. These are not mere philosophical concepts. They are psychological weapons, tools for a war of liberation that you must wage within your own soul. They will free you from the suffocating embrace of herd morality and ignite the sacred, terrifying process of true self-creation. This is not for the faint of heart. It is for those who feel a restless hunger for a life of greater meaning and power, for those who suspect that the map they were given leads nowhere worth going. Rule 1. Question all inherited morality. Consider for a moment the architecture of your mind, the beliefs you hold about right and wrong, the values you strive to embody, the very definition of what constitutes a good life. Where did they truly originate? You did not choose them. They were installed in you, like software, through a slow, relentless process of cultural conditioning. You were taught to be good, to be kind, to be selfless, to prioritize the needs of the group above your own. These sound like noble aspirations, but Nietzsche, with his devastating clarity, saw them for what they often are, the brilliant, insidious strategy of the weak. He named this slave morality, a system of values created not by heroes and creators, but by the powerless, the resentful, those who could not compete on the battlefield of strength and excellence. Their masterstroke was to demonize the very attributes of the powerful: pride, ambition, health, wealth, the will to dominate one's own life, by labeling them evil. Simultaneously, they sanctified their own weakness: humility, obedience, poverty, pity, by calling it good. This was a philosophical coup d'etat, a rebellion of the masses that allowed them to achieve a phantom victory. They could not become strong, so they made strength itself seem morally reprehensible. To embrace this first forbidden rule is to declare intellectual independence. It is to become a detective of your own psyche, to subject every should and must to ruthless cross-examination. Ask yourself, does this belief make me stronger, more vibrant, more capable? Or does it make me more docile, more predictable, more easily led? Who benefits from my adherence to this rule? Your goal is not to descend into nihilistic amorality, but to ascend to a higher, self-authored morality. This is the morality of the Übermensch, the overman, who creates his own values from a place of abundance and life affirmation, rather than inheriting them from a place of fear and lack. It requires the immense courage to stand alone, to be branded a heretic, and to understand that true virtue often looks like vice to those still trapped in the old paradigm. This is the first and most critical step, to systematically deconstruct the prison of inherited morality, brick by psychic brick, until you stand on the open ground of your own sovereign judgment. Rule 2. Become the absolute owner of your will. If the first rule is about dismantling the external prison, The second is about claiming the internal throne. Most people do not live their lives live them. They are passive subjects, swept along by currents of social expectation, familial obligation, and the desperate, unending quest for external validation. They are caretakers of a life designed by others, tenants in a house they did not build. Nietzsche's second forbidden rule is a radical eviction notice. It commands you to become the sole absolute owner of your will. This is the profound essence of his concept of the will to power, a term widely misunderstood as a desire to dominate others, but which, in its truest form, is the fundamental drive of all life to grow, to overcome, to expand, and to achieve mastery over itself. Your will to power is your latent potential for sovereignty. To own your will is to transition from a state of reaction to a state of creation. It means you stop asking, "What does the world want from me?" and start commanding, "This is what I will create in the world." It means you become the ultimate authority in your life, the final court of appeal for your decisions, the unapologetic architect of your destiny. This ownership manifests in 1,000 daily choices. It means you set your goals based on an internal compass of what is meaningful to you, not on what promises the most social reward. It means you make decisions from a place of deep self-trust, even when they are unpopular or misunderstood. It means you embrace the terrifying responsibility that comes with true freedom, for there is no one left to blame. Practically, this begins with a fundamental linguistic and psychological shift. You must exterminate the language of servitude from your inner dialogue. Replace the weak delegating phrase "I should" with the powerful owning declaration "I will." "I should be more successful" becomes "I will build an enterprise that embodies my vision." "I should be more likable" becomes "I will conduct myself with such integrity and strength that I command respect." This is more than semantics. It is a reprogramming of your core operating system. It is the deliberate cultivation of what the ancients called auctoritas, personal authority, that needs no external endorsement. By owning your will, you cease to be a slave to circumstance and become the master of your response. You are no longer a leaf blown by the winds of opinion. You become the wind itself. This is the foundational practice for becoming the Übermensch, the human who has overcome his own conditioned limitations to become a self-propelled, self-directed work of art. These first two forbidden rules are the bedrock of Nietzschean liberation. They are the twin keys that unlock the cage of your conditioned mind. One key turns against the external world of imposed values. The other turns inward to claim the kingdom of your own will. This is not a one-time event, but a continuous practice, a daily discipline of questioning and owning. It is uncomfortable, disruptive, and often lonely work, for you are separating yourself from the warm, sleepy mass of humanity. But it is the only work that leads to a life of authentic power. In the next chapter, we will build upon this unshakable foundation with rules that will teach you to harness the transformative power of suffering and to transcend the petty judgments of the herd. But for now, your mission is clear and urgent. You must conduct a fearless inquisition of every moral truth you hold, and you must seize absolute ownership of the magnificent, untamed will that society has taught you to fear and suppress. Your path to sovereignty does not begin with a step, but with a question and then a command. We continue our deep dive into Nietzsche's most dangerous and transformative wisdom, now that we've shattered the illusions of conventional morality and begun the sacred work of owning your will. You stand at the edge of a profound paradox. The very experiences you've been taught to avoid pain, hardship, suffering, and the opinions you've been conditioned to fear. The judgment of the herd are actually the raw materials for your ultimate transformation. Society teaches you to seek comfort, to avoid pain at all costs, and to conform to gain acceptance. This chapter reveals two forbidden rules that turn this cowardly logic upside down. They will teach you the alchemical art of turning leaden suffering into golden strength and the sovereign practice of becoming immune to the opinions of the masses. This is where you learn to stop being a victim of your circumstances and start being the sculptor of your soul. Your character will be forged in fires that would destroy ordinary men, and your peace will become unshakable, because it will no longer depend on external validation. This is the path to true power, the power that comes from within, the power that cannot be taken from you because it is born from your ability to transform poison into medicine and weakness into strength. Let us begin this transformation with two rules that will change everything you thought you knew about suffering and social acceptance. Rule 3. Transmute your suffering into power. From childhood, you are programmed to view suffering as an enemy, a sign of failure, a flaw in the universe, or a punishment to be endured. You medicate it, numb it, distract yourself from it, and pray for its swift departure. Nietzsche's third forbidden rule commands you to see suffering through a different lens, not as an enemy, but as the most potent fuel for your evolution. He declared that what does not kill him makes him stronger. And this is not a platitude, but a precise psychological principle. Suffering is a forge, its fires, though painful, all burn away weakness, self-deception, and everything that is not essential to your true character. The man who has never suffered remains soft, untested, and naive. His strength is theoretical, his character unproven. But the man who has learned to embrace his suffering, to welcome it, as a demanding teacher, becomes hardened, resilient, and profound. This is the practice of amor fati, the love of one's fate. It is not passive resignation, but an active, passionate embrace of everything life brings you. Especially the difficult parts. To transmute suffering into power, you must first stop running when pain arrives. Be it failure, loss, rejection, or physical hardship, you must turn toward it, examine it, ask it, what are you here to teach me? What weakness are you exposing? What strength must I develop to overcome you? This transforms you from a passive recipient of pain into an active student of its lessons. Every moment of suffering becomes a training ground. The pain of discipline becomes the foundation of willpower. The agony of failure becomes the birthplace of wisdom. The heartache of betrayal becomes the catalyst for unshakable self-reliance. This is alchemy. You are no longer a victim of random misfortune. You are an alchemist, deliberately using the base metal of your pain to create the gold of your character. This rule is forbidden, because a man who finds power in his pain is ungovernable. He cannot be manipulated by threats or controlled by the promise of comfort. He has discovered an inner resource that makes him independent of external conditions. Rule 4. Become impervious to the herd's opinion. The fear of social judgment is one of the most powerful chains that binds you. From the schoolyard to the boardroom, you are monitored, assessed, and corrected by the invisible committee of what will people think. This constant low-grade anxiety shapes your behavior, censors your speech, and suffocates your unique spirit. You wear a mask performing a role written by the collective, and in doing so, you betray your authentic self. Nietzsche's fourth forbidden rule is your declaration of independence from this psychic tyranny. The herd, the mass of ordinary conventional people, is motivated by resentment, fear, and a deep-seated hatred for anything that is different, excellent, or free. Its opinions are not based on truth, but on the need to enforce conformity. When the herd praises you, it is often because you have made yourself small and non-threatening when it condemns you. It is often because you have dared to be great, to be different, to be yourself. Therefore, to seek its approval is to seek your own diminishment, to become impervious to its opinion is to claim your sovereignty. This begins with a fundamental realization. The judgment of others is not about you, it is about them. It is a projection of their own insecurities, limitations, and unlived lives. When someone criticizes your ambition, it is because they are afraid to pursue their own. When they mock your uniqueness, it is because they lack the courage to embrace their own. Their opinion is a mirror of their own prison, not a reflection of your worth. To implement this rule, you must cultivate what the Stoics called apatheia. Not apathy, but a state of being undisturbed by external events. You must build an inner citadel so strong that the shouts and whispers of the outside world cannot penetrate it. This requires a daily practice of validating yourself. Your sense of worth must come from your own assessment of your character, your integrity, and your progress toward your goals. Not from the fickle applause of the crowd. Stop confessing your dreams to cynics. Stop seeking permission for your choices. Let your actions be your only statement. The goal is not to become a callous misanthrope, but to reach a state of serene indifference. You will listen to feedback, but you will not be defined by it. You will be respectful, but you will not be compliant. The herd will howl. At first, you will be called arrogant, selfish, or strange. This is the price of freedom. Pay it gladly, for on the other side is the quiet, powerful peace of a man who answers to no one but himself. These two rules represent a profound shift from external dependency to internal mastery. You are learning to draw power from the very sources you once feared, and to find validation in the only place that truly matters. Within the alchemy of suffering forges an unbreakable will. While immunity to the herd's opinion grants you the freedom to use that will without constraint, in the next chapter, we will advance to rules that govern the mastery of time and the embrace of life's deepest tensions. But for now, your work is to sit with your pain until it reveals its gifts, and to silence the noise of the world until you can hear only the clear, commanding voice of your own sovereign self. We now arrive at the heart of Nietzsche's philosophical revolution, where we transcend conventional understanding of time and embrace the fundamental tensions that define human existence. Having established the foundation of self-ownership and mastered the alchemy of suffering, we must now confront two of the most profound and challenging concepts in Nietzsche's entire philosophy. Concepts that will fundamentally reshape your relationship with reality itself. The modern world teaches you to live either in regret of the past or anxiety about the future, never fully inhabiting the present moment. Simultaneously, you're conditioned to seek resolution to life's contradictions, to choose sides in false dichotomies, and to avoid the creative tension that comes from holding opposing truths simultaneously. These next two forbidden rules will liberate you from these limitations, teaching you to master time through the revolutionary concept of eternal recurrence, and to harness the tremendous power of life's inherent contradictions. This is where you move from being a mere participant in existence to becoming a conscious co-creator of reality, where every moment becomes eternal and every contradiction becomes a source of creative power. Prepare to have your understanding of time, existence, and possibility permanently transformed. Rule 5. Live as if every moment eternal recurrence. The concept of eternal recurrence represents perhaps the most challenging and transformative idea in Nietzsche's entire philosophy. Imagine that every moment of your life, every joy, every pain, every triumph, every failure, every mundane detail will repeat itself infinitely, exactly as it occurred, for all eternity. There will be no variations, no changes, no opportunities to do things differently. This is not merely a thought experiment, but a profound psychological test that reveals the ultimate measure of your life's quality and your capacity for self-mastery. Nietzsche presents this as the heaviest weight, the greatest burden any human can bear, because it forces you to confront the ultimate question. If faced with eternal repetition of your life exactly as lived, would you fall to your knees in despair, or would you embrace this fate with ecstatic affirmation? This rule commands you to live every moment as if you consciously chose its eternal return. The practice begins with what we might call temporal sovereignty, the conscious reclamation of your relationship with time. Most people exist in a state of temporal confusion, haunted by past regrets and anxious about future uncertainties. They allow past mistakes to define their present identity and future worries to poison their current experience. This scattered temporal existence prevents them from fully inhabiting and mastering any single moment. To implement eternal recurrence as a daily practice, you must undergo a radical reorientation of your consciousness. Start each morning with what I call the eternal question. If I knew this day would repeat infinitely, exactly as I live it, what changes would I make right now to ensure I could embrace its eternal return? This question transforms from a philosophical abstraction into a practical tool for moment-to-moment decision-making. When faced with a choice between courage and comfort, between integrity and convenience, between growth and security, you ask, which choice could I bear to repeat forever? This practice installs a new operating system in your psyche where every decision becomes weighted with cosmic significance, where every action carries eternal consequences. The transformation occurs gradually but profoundly. Initially, you'll notice small shifts, choosing to speak truth instead of convenient lies, pursuing meaningful work instead of comfortable distractions, engaging fully in relationships instead of superficial interactions. As the practice deepens, you'll begin to experience what Nietzsche called the great noon, that moment of perfect clarity where past, present, and future align in a single eternally significant now. This is not about perfection, but about conscious, willing embrace of life in its totality. The shadows and light, the triumphs and failures, all become essential threads in the tapestry of existence you would willingly weave forever. The ultimate test comes when you can look at your greatest sufferings, your most humiliating failures, your most painful losses, and say with genuine conviction, yes, I would live this too, exactly as it happened, forever. This is the pinnacle of amor fati, not merely accepting your fate, but loving it with such intensity that you would choose its eternal repetition. This practice transforms time from a linear progression into a depth dimension, where each moment contains infinite significance and every choice echoes through eternity. You stop postponing life to some imagined future and stop regretting some idealized past. The eternal now becomes the only reality that matters, and within it, you discover the freedom to create a life so magnificent that its eternal repetition would be cause for celebration rather than despair. Rule 6. Embrace creative contradictions. Modern thinking, influenced by Aristotelian logic and binary categorization, teaches you to resolve contradictions, to choose between opposites, to cleanly separate concepts into neat categories of either or. This intellectual tidiness comes at a tremendous cost. It forces you to reject the rich, complex, paradoxical nature of reality in favor of simplified, manageable falsehoods. Nietzsche's sixth forbidden rule commands you to embrace what he called the Dionysian approach to existence, the willingness to hold opposing truths simultaneously, to dance with contradictions, to find creative power in the tension between apparent opposites. This is the philosophical equivalent of quantum superposition, where contradictory states can coexist and generate tremendous creative energy. The practice begins with recognizing that most of life's deepest truths exist in paradoxical pairs: strength and vulnerability, discipline and spontaneity, individuality and connection, tradition and innovation, certainty and doubt. Conventional wisdom forces you to choose one pole and reject the other, creating psychological fragmentation and limiting your potential. The path of sovereignty requires you to embrace both poles simultaneously, to hold the tension creatively, and to generate new possibilities from this dynamic equilibrium. To implement this rule, you must develop what Keats called negative capability, the capacity to exist amid uncertainties, mysteries, doubts, without any irritable reaching after fact and reason. Start by identifying the fundamental contradictions in your own life and thinking. Perhaps you value both security and adventure, both independence and intimacy, both stability and growth. Instead of choosing one and suppressing the other, learn to hold both values in creative tension. The magic happens in what I call the paradox zone, that psychological space where opposing truths coexist and generate creative solutions that transcend the original dichotomy. This practice requires tremendous psychological strength and flexibility. Most people find cognitive dissonance unbearable and rush to resolve it through oversimplification or denial. The sovereign individual learns to tolerate and even enjoy this tension, recognizing it as the source of all genuine creativity and innovation. When you encounter conflicting ideas or values, instead of choosing sides, ask, how might both be true? What higher synthesis might emerge from holding this tension? What new possibility exists in the space between these opposites? This approach transforms conflicts from problems to be solved into creative opportunities to be explored. The application extends to every domain of life. In relationships, you learn to balance intimacy and autonomy, creating connections that enhance rather than limit individual freedom. In work, you combine discipline and creativity, structure and spontaneity, planning and improvisation. In personal growth, you embrace both self-acceptance and relentless improvement, recognizing that growth comes from loving who you are while striving to become more. This rule represents the highest form of psychological integration, where you become complex enough to contain multitudes, flexible enough to adapt to life's inherent contradictions, and creative enough to generate novel solutions from opposing forces. The herd seeks simplicity and consistency because it cannot handle complexity. The sovereign individual thrives in complexity because they understand that reality is not either or but both and. This embrace of creative contradictions makes you unpredictable to the mediocre, incomprehensible to the simple-minded, and endlessly creative in your approach to life's challenges. You become a living paradox, both grounded and visionary, both practical and philosophical, both fierce and compassionate, both certain and open-minded. This is the mark of true psychological maturity and the foundation of genuine innovation in any field. 5 and 6 rules complete your transformation from a linear, binary thinker into a multidimensional, paradoxical being capable of mastering time and harnessing creative tensions. The practice of eternal recurrence teaches you to live with such intensity and purpose that every moment becomes eternally significant, while the embrace of creative contradictions enables you to navigate life's complexity with wisdom and innovation. Together, they form the advanced curriculum of Nietzschean sovereignty, preparing you for the final stage of becoming the Übermensch, the being who has overcome conventional humanity to create new values and new possibilities for existence itself. In our final chapter, we will explore the ultimate rules of value creation and self-transcendence. But for now, your work is to practice seeing every moment through the lens of eternity and to dance with the creative tensions that most people fear. This is the path to becoming not just a better version of yourself, but an entirely new kind of human being. We have reached the summit of our Nietzschean journey, the pinnacle where philosophy transforms into lived reality and theoretical concepts become embodied truth. The path behind us has been steep and demanding. We have shattered conventional morality, mastered the alchemy of suffering, transcended herd opinion, conquered time through eternal recurrence, and learned to dance with life's creative contradictions. Now, we stand at the threshold of Nietzsche's ultimate vision, the complete and total self-creation of the sovereign individual through the conscious direction of will to power and the embodiment of the Übermensch as your personal destiny and highest possibility. These final two rules represent the crystallization of everything we've explored, the practical application of Nietzsche's most radical insights to the art of becoming who you are. This is where you move from understanding to being, from philosophy to existence, from potential to actualization. The modern world offers you prefabricated identities, prepackaged purposes, and pre-approved paths. These final forbidden rules command you to reject all external blueprints and become the architect of your own soul, the creator of your own values, the living embodiment of will to power as self-overcoming. Prepare to meet your highest self and discover that the God you've been seeking has been waiting within you all along. Rule 7. Consciously direct your will to power. The concept of will to power stands as Nietzsche's most misunderstood and revolutionary contribution to philosophy, often misinterpreted as a justification for domination or crude aggression. Nothing could be further from the truth. Will to power, in its deepest and most profound sense, represents the fundamental driving force of all life, the innate tendency to grow, expand, overcome, enhance, and transcend current limitations. It is the energy behind evolution, the impulse behind creation, the engine of transformation in everything from cells to civilizations. Your will to power is not something you choose to have. It is what you are. The choice lies in whether you express this will consciously and creatively or unconsciously and destructively. Most people live as passive conduits for their will to power, allowing it to manifest through petty competitions, status seeking, material accumulation, or the subtle domination of others. The seventh forbidden rule commands you to seize conscious control of this fundamental force and direct it toward the most noble and demanding project imaginable, the creation of your highest self. This begins with recognizing will to power in its various manifestations throughout your life. That restless energy that drives you to improve, that dissatisfaction with mediocrity, that urge to create something meaningful, that desire to overcome obstacles. These are all expressions of your will to power. The practice involves what we might call psycho-spiritual alchemy, transforming this raw, undirected energy into conscious self-creation. Start by conducting a will to power audit of your life. Where does your energy currently flow? Into what channels do you direct your ambition, your creativity, your drive for excellence? Are you building something meaningful or merely accumulating symbols of status? Are you growing as a human being or simply becoming more efficient at games you didn't choose to play? Most people's will to power is scattered, diluted across countless trivial pursuits and social obligations. The sovereign individual learns to concentrate this power like sunlight through a magnifying glass, focusing it on the single most important project, themselves. The methodology involves three crucial shifts: from reactive to creative expression, from external to internal direction, and from quantitative to qualitative enhancement. Instead of competing with others, compete with your former self. Instead of seeking power over circumstances, cultivate power over yourself. Instead of measuring success by what you accumulate, measure it by who you become. This requires developing what Nietzsche called the pathos of distance, the ability to stand apart from the herd's values and judgments, to measure yourself against your own standards of excellence, to become your own ultimate judge and jury. The practice deepens as you learn to harness will to power as a tool for continuous self-overcoming. Each limitation becomes an opportunity for expansion. Each comfort zone becomes a frontier for conquest. Each achievement becomes a platform for greater challenges. You stop asking, "What can I get?" and start asking, "What can I become?" This transforms your relationship with difficulty from something to be avoided into something to be sought, because you recognize that resistance is what strengthens your will, that obstacles are what reveal your power, that suffering is what forges your character. The ultimate expression of consciously directed will to power is what Nietzsche called self-surpassing, the ongoing process of becoming more than you are, of creating values rather than following them, of willing your own evolution as a work of art. This is not a destination, but a continuous journey, not an achievement, but a way of being. You become both the sculptor and the marble, both the creator and the creation, both the will and its manifestation. This rule is forbidden because a human being who has mastered their will to power becomes ungovernable by external forces, unpredictable to manipulators, and unstoppable in their pursuit of excellence. They answer to a higher law than social convention. They serve a greater purpose than personal comfort. They embody a more profound power than domination over others. This is the foundation upon which the Übermensch stands. Rule 8. Embody the Übermensch as your highest possibility. The Übermensch represents Nietzsche's most visionary and challenging concept, the human being who has overcome conventional morality, transcended herd mentality, mastered the art of self-creation, and become the meaning-giving, value-creating center of their own universe. This is not a superhuman being in the comic book sense, but rather the fullest actualization of human potential, the individual who has transformed chaos into cosmos, suffering into strength, and fate into freedom. The eighth and final forbidden rule commands you to stop viewing the Übermensch as a philosophical abstraction and start embodying it as your personal destiny and daily practice. This begins with understanding what the Übermensch is not. It is not about physical perfection, intellectual brilliance, or material success. Rather, it is about psychological sovereignty, spiritual autonomy, and creative self-mastery. The Übermensch is the human being who has said a sacred yes to life in its totality, who has embraced their will to power as the engine of self-creation, who has overcome resentment and fear, and who creates values from abundance rather than following values from lack. The path to embodying the Übermensch involves what we might call existential architecture, the conscious design and construction of your character, your values, and your way of being in the world. Start by asking the fundamental questions. If I were the Übermensch, how would I think? How would I act? What values would I create? What relationship would I have with suffering, with time, with other human beings? These are not theoretical questions, but practical guides for moment-to-moment existence. The practice involves systematically dismantling everything in yourself that is reactive, resentful, fearful, or conventional, and replacing it with creative, affirmative, courageous, and self-authored ways of being. This transformation occurs through what Nietzsche called the 3 metamorphoses of the spirit. First, becoming the camel who bears the weight of tradition and responsibility, then becoming the lion who says no to all external authorities and thou shalts, and finally, becoming the child who says yes and creates new values from a place of innocence and play. Most people remain camels their entire lives, burdened by shoulds and musts. Some become lions who rebel but have nothing to create. Very few reach the stage of the child who creates anew. Your work is to complete this evolution within yourself. The embodiment of the Übermensch manifests in several key characteristics. First, radical authenticity. The willingness to be exactly who you are without apology or compromise, to speak your truth even when your voice shakes, to stand alone if necessary rather than betray yourself. Second, creative value-making. The ability to generate your own moral compass, to decide what is good and evil based on what enhances life rather than what conforms to tradition. Third, profound responsibility. The recognition that you are the author of your life, that you cannot blame circumstances or other people for your condition, that your freedom comes from owning your choices completely. Fourth, ecstatic affirmation. The capacity to love life unconditionally, to embrace everything that happens as necessary and beautiful, to dance with existence rather than struggle against it. Fifth, continuous self-overcoming. The understanding that growth never ends, that each achievement is merely the starting point for the next challenge, that stagnation is the only true failure. The practice of embodying the Übermensch is not about achieving some perfect state, but about engaging in the continuous process of self-creation. It means treating your life as a work of art, your character as your masterpiece, your values as your unique contribution to the world. It means living with such intensity and purpose that your very existence becomes a statement about human possibility. This rule is the ultimate forbidden knowledge because it makes you dangerous to all systems of control, incomprehensible to the mediocre, and inspirational to those who sense their own potential greatness. The Übermensch does not seek followers, but creates the conditions for others to find their own sovereignty. They are not a leader, but a catalyst, not a savior, but an example, not a god, but a human being who has remembered their divine capacity for self-creation. These final 2 rules complete the architecture of Nietzschean transformation, providing both the engine, will to power, and the blueprint, Übermensch, for your journey toward sovereignty. Together, they represent the culmination of everything we've explored, the practical methodology for becoming who you are in the fullest, most profound sense possible. You now possess all 8 forbidden rules, the complete toolkit for psychological and spiritual revolution. The path ahead is yours to walk. The self is yours to create. The life is yours to will into being. Remember, you are not here to find yourself, but to create yourself, not to discover your purpose, but to invent it, not to accept your fate, but to love it so completely that you would will its eternal return. This is the ultimate meaning of Nietzsche's philosophy and the greatest gift you can give yourself. The courage to become the sovereign, self-created individual you were always meant to be. The journey ends where it began, with you, but now transformed, empowered, and ready to live with a yes-saying, life-affirming intensity that most people cannot even imagine. Go forth and create yourself.